So, when your sister contacts you to tell you about your mum, what did she say?
Yeah, she just said it was terminal cancer, to come and say goodbye because they couldn't operate.
Do you know what cancer it was?
Lung cancer.
Lung cancer.
And if it's terminal, it's very quick normally. So that's pretty much what I did. I went to say bye, and fortunately she didn't die.
And
it was that. Honestly, people think I'm really callous, but they didn't have my childhood with her. I did what I thought was right to do, not what I wanted to do. Yeah.
And how long? So she was given how long when you got the phone call?
She was given she was told it was terminal, and then it turned out it wasn't. They could operate, and they removed it, and then it wasn't very long. There was a bit to and fro in, you know. You're back visiting because you've got stuck in that loop. Then you've made a commitment to go in because I thought it would be a few months at best, and now I'm stuck. So she'd be in and out of hospital, and then when she went in, not very long ago, she was given 13 hours to live, but this had happened a few times. Was given a few days, and a week, and then a few days, and then a few hours, and you get used to knowing that every phone call is going to be another major emergency, and she's too stubborn to pass on. And just over a year ago, she was given 13 hours to live. And she survived a year. She survived a year.
Was that because she had chemo and radiotherapy?
She had all that from the cancer. They did it, and then there was a risk it was coming back. But what inevitably took her was advanced COPD through smoking. She refused to give up smoking, even though they said it's going to kill you and you're going to struggle. And there was times where you'd see her during that year, and you knew that day was going to be the last day. And then the next day, you'd see her and she was 30 years younger again.
Do you think she would, because she knew she was dying, so why got the one thing what she enjoys?
Yeah, I get that, but even look at that, she was dying, she got cancer from them, and they managed to cut them out. So you've been given a second chance, but she continued to smoke. So what was the point? Why did you do that? You know, if you've already had the argument now, my mum said, yeah, but it's like closing the barn door after the horse has bolted. But if you get that horse back, you lock that door every time. You make sure that barn door's locked. But she wouldn't do it, and she wouldn't give up those cigs.
Because sometimes they say that when people have cancer, they lose. Did she like food? Because they lose the taste of things. I'm just wondering.
She liked to cook, but I don't know if she actually liked food. Because say in the last year she shriveled up. She'd lost probably half her body weight, and she aged badly. She started to age at quite an accelerated rate, to the fact that each time I saw her, even when I was going daily, it seemed like she was aging, a year nearly every day. She deteriorated quite quickly, and because she was losing weight, her skin couldn't retract at that rate, so she really did look like, she was aging quite badly.
And what age was she?
She died, she was few days, not long before her 60th birthday, and she looked 90.
And what was her weight? How did she look? Was she skinny prior to it?
I think she's about 6 stone when she went. She was really light and frail, and she couldn't walk, couldn't hold herself up anymore. It was difficult. She could walk for a cig. She could always walk for a cig, even if it was a Zimmer frame or a stick. She could walk for a cig, but that was it.
What was her weight roughly before she died?
She'd always been kind of skinny, but I think she got up to something like 10 stone, which was still unhealthily thin.
Because what was her height?
Oh, about 5'7", I think, somewhere
so
around
that's
that.
Still
but
below,
she was,
isn't it?
well, she was still below. But she would not eat if she could have a cig.
Okay.
She was an absolute addict for them, and there was times where she'd give it up for 10 days. And you'd be like, yes, you're doing it, and then make up for it. There's times that she'd smoke 40 cigs in an afternoon.
On average, do you know how many cigarettes she was smoking?
She smoked all my life. There's times where I've seen her do horrendous levels of cigarettes, to the fact that I can honestly remember days where there wasn't a cig lit in her mouth. Actually, once or twice there was 2 cigs in her mouth. One's finishing and she lights the other one and puts it in because this one's finishing, and it's like a real chain smoker.
And did you speak to your mum about, obviously she'd been given a second chance?
Yeah, but she just never believed that the problems that she had was gonna get her. Like every addict, doesn't believe that the actual problem causing ingredient is going to come back, even though all the evidence is there. And I sat down and spoke to her, and there was times that she'd say yes, I know, and there's other times where she'd just be defiant and say no, I won't do it again. And it was just one problem after another. And then even when she's got the specialist saying you need to give up smoking, it's killing you now, it's actually physically killing you, she still refused to believe it. She's a true addict.
And did she, because some women, they'll smoke a lot because, they don't want to weight gain. Was she bothered about her weight? Was she on
I don't think so. I mean, there was times where she was concerned she was a little thin, but I honestly think the cigarettes took over a very long time ago, and that was the issue. There just wasn't a life without cigarettes for her. And even when she gave up, it was like a quiet voice whispering to her, and then she'd just be straight back.
Do you think on average she would smoke 20 to 40 on a daily basis?
Easy.
And
That's a normal day. It got to the point where because she was on benefits at the end of her life, there was easily that they just could not cope with the level of cigs. Even if she spent all her benefit money on cigarettes, it was still not enough cigarettes. And because she had capacity, they would allow her to smoke as much as she wanted. And I made the argument that you should put her bedroom directly opposite the smoke room, because she smoked more than all of the other smokers in that home put together. And she really did smoke more than all of them.
And so I'm quite surprised that they would give her a second chance if they knew.
No, I don't understand that either. If she's not going to stop, then what was the point?
And if she did, you speak to doctors? If she had stopped, would they gave her a couple of?
There was no misunderstanding whatsoever that if she'd have stopped after the first operation, what took her wouldn't have took her, because COPD you slowly suffocate, because the cigarettes actually, when you draw that in, you believe it's opening your lungs, but it isn't. And what it's actually doing is it's killing your lungs off, so your lungs need to open more for you to be able to breathe. And she was given the option, you had oxygen and you have cigarettes. You have to find a medium between the two. And every time they visited, it was less and less and less on the oxygen, because she would spend hours sat in the smoke room, but then wouldn't go back on her oxygen, which counteracted the damage it did. And she wouldn't go, and then she'd get ill, and then she'd end up in hospital where they won't let her smoke, and they had her on the oxygen, and then she would get well, and then she'd come out and repeat this cycle over and over and over again. And it's like, no, just stop smoking. It works when you're in hospital. She was in hospital, I think, 11 days and didn't have a cigarette, and she got younger. Her hair colour came back. Even, people were like, wow, you look like you're unaging. Just in those few days. But they had her on oxygen, they had all the right stuff going into her meals were correct, and she really did improve to the fact she was able to walk unaided. And unfortunately, not everybody in the family sees it the same way. Certain members of family then decided to go down and offer her a cig, and she was so used to smoking that she started smoking again. Then she was able to walk outside to have the cigarette, and they released her from hospital, and then she deteriorated again. And then it was a cycle to the point that she ended up filling in paperwork so they wouldn't take her to the hospital anymore.
Do you feel family members for an easy life gave her a cigarette? Did she sort of say to them, I need some cigarettes? Whereas
that was daily. It was daily for them, because I refused. I'm not doing it. I'm I'm not helping her kill herself. And she goes, I'm not killing myself, it's a cig, don't take that from me. I said, oh, nobody's took anything from you. What you've done is you've given everything else up for cigarettes. You know, she wouldn't take part in things in the home. You know, that she wouldn't go and sit in the common room and talk to her friends. Cigarettes ruled her life.
And the doctors, how long, if she had given up, how long do you think she might have added?
There was no issue. They, as far as they were concerned, that once the cancer had been removed the first time, there wasn't a risk. You know, she's obviously in for risk of pneumonia and things like that because your lungs are weakened, but there wasn't any other risk other than what the average elderly person faces. So she could have lived to 80. You know, she could have lived to 90. There was no issue with that.
So they
chances are that her drug use would have took her a bit earlier, you know, from when she was younger. So but she was frail, you know, the bones were weak, and we know it's through the drug use that it causes that. But
so she could have maybe had an extra 5-10 years on.
Well, after she'd had the operation, there was even talk about her living independently. But she quickly went back to smoking, which hindered her recovery, and to some extent it stops the recovery. And so then you're just chasing an unrealistic goal. And then her cigarettes, because she'd stress about it, her cigarette intake would increase, which then made her worse. And then she'd end up literally in the cycle of going to hospital, having the oxygen, getting well, going home, being able to move around for a week, no problem, but then sitting there and smoking and smoking and smoking till she deteriorated to the point where she didn't. There's times where she just was an absolute zombie. She had the cigarette in her mouth and didn't even draw off it because she was so frail and so wiped out. The cigarette would just burn away in her mouth like that. You know, just sat there, and you'd see it. You'd come in and say, "Oi, get your cig," and she'd like, "Oh." And then she'd get that bad that she'd go back on her oxygen because she's not unable to get off it, and then improve that well that then she didn't need it again. And it's just a catch-22 situation. That she could have lived quite a lot longer.